Siman Daled, Sa'if Hey Beis Shmuel Sif Cotton Beis. The Mechaber had said that if a Moini, a Moavi, a Mitzri, a Doimi, or some non-Jewish person had been intimate with a Jewish woman, the child is considered Jewish. The child is considered Jewish, but there's some pgam when it comes to kahuna. There's some defect or blemish when it comes to kahuna. The Rif mesupik bezeim hem pegumim lekahuna. The Rif is doubtful if they are pagum for kahuna. So the Rif would maintain that there is scope to say that there is a pagam when it comes to kahuna. Rambam Kosov, the Rambam argues, and he says dehem ksherim, that they are totally kosher, they can marry. So if the father's not Jewish, as long as the mother is Jewish, the offspring of such a union are allowed to marry into kahuna. El harosh Kosov dehem pagumim, and it's the Rosh who says that they pagam. So we got the Rambam who says they kosher, the Rosh says that they pagam, that they're not allowed to marry a kohen, and the Rif is mesupik, he is doubtful, so therefore he's not as strong as the Rambam, saying that they're kosher, and he says they could possibly have a pagam. The Rosh learns out that they're not allowed to marry a kohen, that they're pagumim lekunami kal v'chomer, from a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Kohen gadol haba al halmana. A kohen gadol who is intimate with an almana, shebna pagum. We know that offspring of such a union, the pasuk tells us lo yechalel, that they are offspring of such a union are halalim, and a daughter born from such a union would not be able to marry a kohen. So it's pagum. Afal pi she'ein isa shave b'kol. Even though, in the case of the kohen gadol and the almana, an almana is allowed to marry any other Jewish person. She's allowed to marry Yisrael. She's allowed to marry a Levi. She's allowed to marry a regular kohen. It's so therefore there's no restriction for an almana marrying into the Jewish people. It's only and particularly by a kohen gadol. So since by a kohen gadol, where the almana is not asur, is not such a stringent isur, because really she's mutter to every other category of Jewish person, and yet we say that her children are pegumim, they're not allowed to marry, they're halalim. So kal v'chomer im ba achas echad me'elu, how much more so if one of these who are koydem sheniz gairu, before they've converted, so they're still goyim, and they're intimate al bas Yisrael with a Jewish woman, shavlad pagam lekuna, the offspring must be pagam tekuna, because they are asur to every Jewish person. They're not allowed to get married into the congregation of Israel, regardless of who that person is. So therefore, if somebody who has no isur normally creates offspring which are pagum, which are halalim, so kal v'chomer, somebody who's forbidden to come into the congregation at all, his offspring would be pagum. Well, so therefore we have the opinion of the Rosh, we have the opinion of the Rambam that countervails that. So it's a machlokas rishonim, whether these offspring are allowed to get married to a kohen or not. So l'psak halacha, so the Beis Shmuel says that practically speaking, the halacha is nira l'chura b'di'eved ein moitziin im nisus l'kohen, that b'di'eved, if they already married the kohen. So how could a person end up marrying a kohen? How do we get such a b'di'eved case? It could be that that the person who was Masad Kedushin didn't know that there was an issue. It could be that they didn't disclose. Somehow they got married, and or maybe they civilly married and just living together, and now we need to know if we should force them to divorce or not. And since we have the Rambam who says that it's allowed, and they're kosher to kohenim, so therefore we don't force them to get divorced. And the reason is because it could be a shaila of a get me'usa. So we know that you're not allowed to force a husband to divorce his wife unless mitzad hadin, unless there's a clear din that compels them to get divorced. If there's a clear din, if according to halacha they must get divorced, so then for sure you're allowed to, then it's not considered forcing, because as the famous Rambam says, that really his yetzer tov, his good inclination, wants him to do the right thing, wants him to follow the din, and wants him to get divorced, and therefore it's not a get me'usa, it's not a forced get, because it's according to his real will. But maybe the halacha is like the Rambam, and the Rambam paskins that you have to give a person that such a person from such a union is kosher for kohuna, and therefore there's no reason that this kohen should divorce his wife, and therefore his yetzer tov won't, because his yetzer tov will paskin like the Rambam, and won't want to force him to have a to have a get, and therefore it will be a coerced get, and therefore it wouldn't be valid. So therefore, because there is that opinion, once a person's already married, you can't force him to give a get. The whole Rambam kosher, because as we said, the Rambam holds that it's kosher. So he has a halacha that would back him up, saying that he's allowed to be married to this woman. V'chein laharif. V'chein laharif v'rambam ein moitzian. So therefore, even according to the Rif and the Rambam, who hold that it is not kosher, you wouldn't be able to force a get. V'ain shuvas marshal, siman yud zayin, v'ain soif siman zayin. So we see in the that the Beis Shmuel says lechatchila we follow the opinion of the Rif and the Ramban, and we don't let them get married. But in a b'diavad situation, you allow them to remain married.